Hello, good morning or afternoon or evening. I got a great video message from one of our members today who is on a random road trip. It's Megan, like only Megan could mistakenly find herself in the Adirondacks. So she was like, I'm not going to make it a class today. I'll take it later. So good afternoon to everybody who's taking it later. We're on our last stretch of what is the Anusara opening invocation. It's also related to, it's called the Niralambaya mantra. And we talked about Niralambaya in the previous class. It's like this, that which stands on its own, needing no support. So the Shiva mantra. And then our last line, which we'll cover today, is the last line I just gave you. We haven't covered Niralambaya. I got to get my brain on Niralambaya Tejasaya. That's our last line. So as we embrace that which needs no support, and Tejas is this, it's an interesting word in Sanskrit. It can mean fire, it can mean light. And when you add, like we talked about Shantaya, so Niralambaya Tejasaya, it's another way to deepen the expression of the word. And so Tejas in Tejasaya is like this utter brilliance, and it just stands on its own. It actually needs no support. So the beautiful thing about this mantra is Om Namah Shivaya Gurave. I open myself up to that light, to that true teacher who lies within me and all around me. Satya Ananda Morte, the essence of all that is Satya, it's truth, and it's chit, it's consciousness, and Ananda, it's blissfully aware of itself. And it has taken form. And that leads us to the third line, which is Nish Prapanchaya Shantaya. It's consistently pouring itself forth in manifestations of 5. And when we remember that we are nothing but this light that pours itself through, and that we're pure consciousness and truth, and the essence of what we are is blissful. When we remember that, the Shanti, the Shantaya, the deepest peace that we seek is always remembered. Niralambaya, it's never not present, and it stands brilliantly on its own. So even if we choose to remember it or not, whether we choose to chant to it or not, whether we choose to open to it or not, it's there. And so what a good thing to remember, especially in the times when we feel our darkest, or we feel really occluded by the truth of that light. So today's practice will lead us to what seems like a very simple pose called upward facing dog. It's actually a level 2 pose in the Anusara syllabus because it requires a lot. It requires us staying steady in that light of the heart and knowing how to move through 2 different focal points. Because if we take Cobra, the focal point, the most weight bearing closest to the earth, Cobra, the hips stay on the floor for that heart opener back bend. And if we choose to go to up dog, the hips actually lift up off the floor a little or a lot. And once that happens, the dominant focal point becomes the base of the heart. And we have to learn how to extend the light up into the heart space, down through the arms, long through the body, and all the way through the strength of the inner thighs and to the toe tips. So it's really, in my really steadfast and humble experience, it is one of the most brilliant examples of Niralambaya Tejasaya. So we'll see what happens. I want you to close your eyes and sit with the idea of it, that light that stands on its own, that needs no support, yet in the human experience, we must learn how to channel it. And I'll invite you to attune to some Ujjayi pranayama and start to build the energy slowly. So wherever you feel your breath most accessibly inside the energy being that you are, drop into that awareness and think of it like a little ball of light, and just start to let the breath harness that light and let it grow. So every inhale, it might grow a little wider, a little brighter, a little hotter, a little bigger. And every exhale, you could let that light start to expand inside you. In the tantric practice, we only use the tools for expansion. That's what tantra means, tantra. We only use as many tools as we need. So if your mind's already wandering away from the bhavana, the inquiry, Niralambaya Tejasaya, use the mantra, Niralambaya Tejasaya. Repeat it in your mind with your breath and give the mind something to do besides listen to the breath and feel the breath. Give the body something to stand steady with. And you'll find this pulsation, this spanda, this expansion and contraction and expansion and contraction. And it is up to the yogi to allow and to emphasize and to step into that rhythm. Please draw your hands to your heart. We'll take the full Niralambaya mantra 3 times. We'll start with the great pranava, Om, 1 time. Deep breath in, big breath out. Inhale. Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Sachidananda Murtaye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejasaya. Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Sachitananda Murtaye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejasaya. Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Sachitananda Murtaye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejasaya. Deep breath in. Oh. It's that radiant light that has taken form in you as you, that stands brilliantly on its own, bigger than you, but including you in its experience of itself. When we open to that light, when we remember the brilliance of it, we do find the peace that we seek. Let your hands separate, let your eyes open. We'll come to cow-cat. And just let the mantra Niralambaya Tejasaya keep pouring itself into the movement of cats and cows. I'm going to ask you to tuck your toes in your cat-cow, and then tuck your toes again if you can. And then squeeze your knees in towards the midline between and your wrists. So you've given the energy that flows through you a little bit more of a container, a channel. And in this posture, your hands and your arms are in the almost exact same posture that they might be for upward facing dog. So look down at your fingers and spread your fingers evenly like rays of light from the center of your palm. And then radically push down through the index finger, the whole finger, all the way up to where it touches where it grows from the palm. Squeeze the index finger towards the inside edge of the thumbnail and vice versa, squeezing the thumbnail towards the inside edge of your index finger. What this does is it gives your body a chance to keep the hands rooted, the wrist safe, and then it also helps inner spiral the forearms and create a strength in the bicep, the upper muscle above the elbow. Can you maintain that actions in the hands and the arms, even as you move fore and aft? So let it be unwavering and always present. And as you're ready, we'll bring arm bones into shoulder socket. I call this the shoulder blade floss. We'll go up and down a few times, keeping the elbows straight. And it's in the upper back. And when the upper back is stiff, or the shoulder sockets are stiff, the elbows like to bend. When we transition from cobra or to up dog, the elbows will bend, but eventually they might go all the way straight. And we want to access this deep connection into the heart space. So now I'm going to ask you also to make sure your knees are slightly behind your hips. So your side bodies are really long. And then see if you can pull your armpits forward as you drag your hands backward. So lengthen from waistline to armpit. And then lift your knees and reach back into dog pose. Give yourself some nice fluid, long ujjayi breaths. The focal point in downward facing dog is the same as upward facing dog. It's the base of the heart. And the focal point is the inner place where we pull light or energy or power into from the periphery into the focal point, and then shine it out from the focal point back to the periphery. Please step forward. And now we shifted from heart focal point to hip focal point. So bend and straighten your legs. Take your hands nice and wide and up on fingertips or blocks so that you can bend the elbows wide towards the edges of your room as you bend and straighten your legs. And try to pour the energy from the hip down through the feet and then long through the spine so the side bodies continue to grow. Pumping the energy of the legs. We're bending and straightening and really working on strengthening the inside seam of the legs. So squeeze your ankles towards the midline and hold that power even as you pull up to straighten the legs. Now hands to hips. Inhale, rise up. And take a wide stance on your sticky mat. Bend and straighten the legs here. All 10 toes facing the long edge of the mat. Now gently pull the inside edges of the feet, the ankles, the inner knees towards the midline between and straighten. And then we'll heel toe, left foot out and bend the left knee. So we're in a warrior 2 and bow forward, elbow to thigh. We're going to bow into the heart space. So bow into that in eternal flame. And when you do that, the hips and the thighs move back. So now just focus on the strength of the inner thighs. As you pull the back arch towards the front heel, hopefully those muscles on the inside and the backs of your legs get stronger. And push the upper right thigh bone way back in space so that the ankle and the upper hip start to line up. Maintain that and keep pulling the feet to midline so you can wrap the left buttocks underneath and down. And this ignites a little light, some power in the core of the belly that you can then shine through the bones of the legs as you unfurl the heart and then stretch that right arm back towards the back toes and then along the ear. So we'll work on letting this light strengthen and grow from the hips to the feet and then out through the heart. Add in breath and really try to keep that upper right thigh bone moving back and the upper right thigh muscle hugging to the bone. Inhale, lift up. And we'll take side 2. So it's a basic posture, side angle, Urdhva Konasana, used as a way to instruct and remember the strength of the feet, the strength of the upper inner thighs. So push the feet down, pull them together, and then try to take that upper left thigh bone wide as you pull the front buttocks down. Bowing into the heart, just look at your legs and see if the femur bone lines up with the lower outer ankle. As you pull the front buttocks under, your belly should get really strong. Then we extend the left arm, open to the support of the right shoulder blade and arm, and then extend left arm along the ear. And you'll find a plumb line that travels from inner left ankle up the thigh to the hip to the navel. Stretch that all the way through the right shoulder, upper right armpit, and then up through the long, long, long left arm. Sustaining the light with your breath. Deepen your breath. Inhale, lift up. Turn all 10 toes. Interlace your hands behind you. And this could absolutely be a place where a lot of people need to hold a strap. If your shoulders are tight, you hold the strap with the palms forward and then extend. Keep the inner thighs strong as you fold forward. Like you did on the floor, we're going to pull the arm bones into the shoulder socket. So this time you have to lift your knuckles up to the sky and pull the arms up into the heart. Trust your legs. Niralambaya, that never not present, standing in deep support of itself. Strengthen your legs to pour the light out through the heart and down through the crown. Bring your breath and your awareness to the inside seam of your legs and remember your strength. Hands to hips. Really lighten up or brighten up the legs. And let's glow up. So we glow all the way up, 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 up. Turn the heels in, toes out. Bend your knees. I'm going to give you an experience of what can happen in Up dog. So push the left shoulder forward and straighten your arm. And feel how the shoulder, the back of the heart rounds. And then we'll do the other side. Let the upper arm bone roll towards the heart and breathe into the fullness of your back body. So there's little consequence of these actions here. In fact, it actually feels good. And there's a time and a place to expand the light in all direction. So now come back to center. Let the heart move forward and squeeze your shoulder blades on your back until the head of the upper arm bones actually pull to the back plane of the body. And zip up the navel and pull the tailbone down. Good. Inhale, stand up. And Tadasana. Actually take one block between the upper inner thighs. And I love this. Some people would say it's remedial. I say it's a necessary reminder in the gift of embodiment. There's parts of us that are weaker. So the inner thigh is typically weaker. Bend the knees, push the upper thigh bones back without hyperextending the knees. So keep the knees, shins forward, thighs back. Now, when you keep the thighs back so they line up with your ankle, you can pull the tailbone down and lift the navel up. So you start to get strong. Now push through the legs, use your hands, push through the legs and see if you can glow the energy up through the ribs and then squeeze those shoulder blades. Now we'll take Chaturanga arms. Elbows and upper arms are at 90 degrees. Glow up, thighs back, tailbone roots, and now push through the arms and lift up the heart. Now it's back bend neck, top of the throat back, lower ears back, upper arm bones back, against the strength of the legs. And this is upward facing dog, standing on your feet. Inhale, use the leg strength to come out, reach up, touch the sky. And exhale, bow forward. Inhale, side body's long. Place your hands and waddle or hop to plank. If you need your knees in plank, that's where we go. Strengthen the midline between your wrists, hug in. Strengthen the midline where your ankles, and now squeeze that block. Lift the navel and lengthen the tailbone. Placing the knees on the floor. Insert arm bones into shoulder sockets first, so arms stay straight and we melt the heart. Now squeeze the wrists in and keep the upper arm bones lifting away from the floor as you lower chest and chin. When you get down all the way to the belly, point your toes, pull the hands back, and we'll take a little cobra. And I hope you can feel that deep strength of the inner thighs. Now you can pull your tailbone towards the block as you push the hands down, pull the heart forward. Hips are on the floor, so this is cobra. Bowing into the light within, press down through hands and knees, and exhale, dog. Inhale down to the knees. Take that block, place it on medium height, and hopefully you've got 2 blocks you can put on medium height. Put your fingers behind the 2 blocks. Come onto the knees. Walk the knees even further back and then see if you can lift the feet so you're above where the knee bends. There you go. Pull the wrist to midline, your inner knees towards midline, and lift the belly button. Now see if you can pull the heart way forward, the crown way forward, and bend your elbows And now don't let your shoulders touch the block. This is Chaturanga. And then press up. And child's pose. We don't ever have to do Chaturanga with our knees lifted. We don't ever have to do a Chaturanga all the way to a 90-degree arm bend. What we do get to do is keep the upper arm bones lifted no matter how far down you go. So come forward, bend the knees, lift the belly, squeeze the wrists, pull the heart forward. So drag the hands back, pull the heart forward, arm bones into shoulder. And no matter how far you decide how far can you go, keeping the upper arm bones lifted, and also get back up. How far down, and come back up. The coming back up part is really interesting. That little spot on your index finger and thumb, especially when you're going to extend the arms, you need to push down through the index finger and thumb to keep the internal spiral of the forearm relative to the upper arm as you come up. Let's take a seat. Hold your wrists and circle. Other thumb on top, other hand. Figure that one out. Circle the other way. Shake it out. Light up the hands. Now let's take the block between your elbows in the Sphinx pose. Push the finger palms down. When you're there, let the gaze turn into the heart. And then feel the strength of your legs. Press right above where your knee bends into that distal femur bone as you squeeze the elbows into the block. Pull the elbows towards your navel, keeping the inner thighs strong by pressing right above the knee. Lengthen the tailbone, and now let the ribs move forward towards the block as your elbow is pulled back and the heart lifts up. Top of the throat back. It's a Sphinx pose. So we're going deeper up into the mid-upper back, I hope. And strong legs. Can you hold the light unwaveringly all the way from the upper inside seam to the ankle to the big toe? Lower the heart. Place your hands where you would for Chaturanga. Push the hands down and back. And like you just did with your strong elbows and forearms, push the hands down, pull the belly forward. We're coming up into Cobra again. Top of the throat back, lower ears back. And truth be told, the reason I always teach Cobra instead of up dog is it's strengthening the upper back needs to happen before we can open into upward facing dog. So bow into the heart, extend through the arms, downward dog. Inhale, lift right leg up. You can do whatever you want here. You can open the hip, stack the hips, whatever's going to feel right for you. And then switch legs. Please focus on the heart being the focal point, that place where you're pulling energy and power and awareness into, and then expanding down through the arms, long through the spine and both legs. Inhale to your knees. Exhale, child's pose. Deepen your breath in child's pose. Let it become more of the Tejas, more luminescent. Build the power of light. Inhale up, all fours. Downward facing dog. Inhale, plank. Now we're going to use your toes. Push off the toes and see if you can push the heart past the fingers. And then bend the elbows. Point the toes, shoelace side down. Now radically from the heart, push through the inner hand and lift up through the heart. Keep the inner thighs lifted. This is upward facing dog. Hips are off the floor. Yeah. Pike it and roll through the toes for dog. If for any reason that dumped into low back or sacrum, then we just need to refine it and learn how to move the power up into the heart space while keeping the inner thighs stronger. Inhale to your knees. Take that block and place it in between your upper thighs. Hands to hips. Tuck your toes. Actually, let's keep them pointed and take the other block between. Let's take it on wide between the ankles. And you'll squeeze that in with your ankles. Squeezing the ankles in, the thighs into the block. Move the femur bones back, keeping the thigh bones back. So you want the front pockets of your upper thighs to stay hollow, even as you lengthen the tailbone, and then press through the leg bones to glow up through the heart. So let's take that like this. Knees, chest, chin, imagine. Push the hands forward and down and grow up through the heart. Keep the thighs back, lengthen the tailbone, and now extend the arms. And you want to feel that more at your bra line or the base of the heart if you don't have a bra. And keep the legs strong as you curl yourself out. Now have a seat on that block or the two blocks, up to you. Open the arms nice and wide. Inhale, keep the navel and the front ribs pulling back, and we'll stretch the arms up. Navel back, tailbone down. Shoulder blades draw down towards the hips as the arms stretch. And we grow and shine and open to the light. Arms wide. And release your hands behind. Deep breath in. Use this as a way to pull the head of the arm bones back so we get used to that sensation, even if you need a strap back here. When the shoulder, upper arm bones go back, the low belly tends to sway forward. So keep the ribs moving down and back, even when you expand into the heart. So you're learning to grow up from the 10th rib up, and from the 11th and 12th rib down. All right. All fours. Let's take Anahatasana. Hips over knees. Walk the hands to a high V. Keeping hips over knees, squeeze the knees in, zip up the navel. It's the same pose you just did, but different orientation. Zip up the belly, the lower ribs. Pressing through the fingertips, float the arm bones to the sky, to your back body. And now extend from the heart through the arms and from the hips to the legs. Lifting the pit of your throat. Maybe the gaze presses forward, but it has to come from base of heart, not from the neck. Inhale, rise up. Downward dog. Inhale, plank. Squeeze the wrist. Use your toes. Push the heart forward. Bend the elbows. Point the toes. Pull the hands down. Strengthen the inner thighs. Lengthen the tailbone. Top of the throat back. Lower ears back. Inner thighs get stronger. Always full of light. Tailbone gets longer. Bow in. And dog. If you are aware that upward facing dog just isn't your jam because it's jamming your lower back, let's revisit a variation of cobra. So inhale to the plank, bring the knees down, knees, chest, and chin. Now we can lengthen the tailbone. As you strengthen the inner thighs, keep the hips on the floor. And some of you might be able to go to straight armed cobra pose. And again, you need a radical reach down through the index finger and thumb. Radical strength on the inner thighs, lifting to the back plane. And if that's just too much, and you're down here, and we're working towards that knowing, love that up, honor it. All right, child's pose. Take an asymmetrical child's pose. So one knee slightly behind the other. Try to square your hips up. And switch the asymmetry. Other knee slightly behind. Guide the hips squarely back. Deep breath in. And inhale up and have a seat. Sukhasana. Flex your ankles. Cross your shins. Keep the ankles flexed. Pick up your hips. Set the pubic bone down equal to the sit bones. And then use your hands on your knees and pull the navel back, tailbone down. And now as you reach into the earth, sit up tall. Left hand, right knee, twist. Inhale, center. Right hand, left knee. And press the knee into your hand, pull the arm bone into your shoulder, sit up really tall and twist around your spine. Inhale, sit up tall. Take that, the feet out in front, stretch one leg out, one leg in. We're going to do both legs, so I'm not going to really instruct modified Janushirshasana right over the bent ankle. Just use it as a, the only thing I could say is if you're on spider arms, which I suggest, is keep the upper arm bones lifted and let the main instructions from the practice today help you here. And the arm bones always move to the back plane of the body. It strengthens the upper back. When the upper back is stronger and supported, the lower back can lengthen and feel better. And when that happens, lift up and we'll switch sides. When we're supported above and below, we can really land in our inner light. And when that happens, anything can happen in the world. And you might forget your light. Tragedies happen. confusion happens and the light always remains. Inhale, rise up. We'll take that cross-legged Sukhasana again. We'll take a mudra called Padma mudra. So you'll hold the light of the heart like you're holding a warm cup of tea. Bow in and let the front ribs remember that they originate on the back of the body. And the back of the body is representative of universal consciousness, the light of all that is. Front body, representative of individual awareness. And when we remember we're a part of a light that's bigger than just our own, that infinite wellspring, that Niralambaya Tejasaya, that brilliance that stands on its own. When we remember that, we can open up even more, just feeling that light grow. So take the mantra internally, Niralambaya Tejasaya, Niralambaya Tejasaya, Niralambaya Tejasaya, Niralambaya Tejasaya. And breathe it. And the mudra and the mantra combined will open the energy in the heart space, the lungs, your circulatory system. It will brighten your mood. Now see yourself like the source of light and let it fill your space like the morning light fills the room. And in the tantric practice, we can come back to the source, the bija mantra, the seed mantra from which this whole four-lined invocation comes. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. I open to that auspiciousness that lies within me. Om Namah Shivaya. And if you ever need an internal remembrance, that mantra can go with you wherever. Any of the mantras can. And we'll close with Om. Bring the palms together for Anjali Mudra. Find some sweet fluid breath. And to what will you make offering with this last Om? Is it to someone? Something? Is it to a bigger presence? Is it to your gratitude? Deep breath in. Full breath out. Inhale. To the light that shines, we bow. Thank you. Have a brilliant remainder of your day. Thank you.